Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about how I lost a deal by trying to give something away for free. Um, a while back, I was making what I thought was a really good offer. So I was running my vending machine business. And we had one particular machine that was older than a lot of the other ones, and it was inside a busy car dealership. And we wanted to replace this old, crappy machine with a newer, nicer glass front one. I literally wasn't even asking for money. Okay, this was a much nicer, 10 years newer vending machine for free. Just, it looked better, it worked better, it stole your money less often. It was just better. And yet, not only did I lose the deal, not only did I lose the deal where I was trying to give this away for free, but I also lost simultaneously the entire vending account. And I'm going to tell you how. The first mistake I made, this is really important. Okay, the first mistake I made was what I call the ambush approach. So I showed up at this dealership with a gentleman who I had hired to help me for the day, ready to swap out the old crappy vending machine for the newer one. But here was the problem. The biggest problem, the ambush. I never told the manager I was coming, and I didn't even know who the manager was. I just walked in, and I was pushing this loud ass pallet jack with a guy who I had hired for the day, and I was wearing a medieval times t-shirt. Um, it was not a very clean cut professional look, so to speak. And when we got inside, mind you, pulling this really loud pallet jack, there was like actively salespeople in negotiations trying to sell cars. They were trying to sell cars, car repairs, whatever they sell. They did both. And here we were making a ton of noise, moving a vending machine through the middle of their sales floor. I can imagine that was super annoying. Like, that was not a good entrance. But anyway, we took the old machine out and we wheeled it over to the truck that we were going to take it out on, and we started bringing the new machine in through the parking lot. And we got to the door. We got to the door that we were going to bring this new machine in through, and the manager was standing out there with her arms crossed, shaking her head no, kind of glaring at us. And when we rolled the machine up to her, she looks at it. She takes like one glance at it, and she goes, "There is absolutely no way you're bringing that machine in here." I was like completely shocked at this because this machine was like objectively better. It was sleeker, newer, more reliable. It looked way better, in my opinion. She thought it looked worse, but I thought it looked way better. So I immediately, this is the second mistake I made. I immediately tried to reason with her. I was like, "Lady, this machine is way nicer than the one you had before. It's newer, it looks better, it's sleeker. It's an AP. Lady, this is an AP. The snacks always dispense. It's a guaranteed dispense." But she didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to hear it. Like, she did not budge. In fact, she glared at me and she said something that made me so upset. She goes, "There is no way you can really believe what you're saying right now." She just thought I was lying to her. And at that moment, I realized I had completely lost control of the sale. In fact, up until that point, I didn't even know I was engaged in a sale, which was arguably my biggest mistake. But at this point, she had completely shut me down. She looked at the vending machine I was bringing in and she said, "If I let you bring in a machine this old, my boss would kill me." Which I thought was ironic because this machine was actually like 10 years newer than the one I had just taken out. But at this moment, her perception of reality was reality, and there was really nothing I could do about that. And instead of understanding that, I made the next big mistake. So I responded to her with something that made sense in my head. Because she had said her boss would kill her. So I said, "Oh, okay. Can I just talk to your boss then?" Right? Which I figured since she's not the decision maker, I'll just go talk to the person who is, and that logically makes sense. But that was the wrong move. That was the wrong move. She immediately shut me down really hard and she says, "There is a 0% chance uh, that you can speak with my boss." Um, at that moment, I realized I completely lost her trust. She wasn't just rejecting the machine, she was rejecting me. And there was probably no machine I could bring her in the world that she would accept. And instead of trying to understand her concerns, I made her feel like she was being bypassed and disrespected. Um, and that's when the deal was officially dead. And, to be honest, that in retrospect, that might have been how I meant to make her feel, which is probably, that's definitely the worst part. The final nail in the coffin is when I realized I was stuck. I just asked her, "Okay, well, what kind of machine do you want?" And she says, "Don't come back unless you bring me a brand new machine." But here's the problem. This dealership did not get enough foot traffic to justify getting a brand new machine. It would take years to make back the money on a brand new machine. And so it just didn't make sense. There's nobody who would want to put a brand new machine in there. But I got her what was definitely the nicest used machine you can get. And so I failed to upgrade the machine. I lost the entire vending account over this. And the worst part was it was because I was trying to sell her an upgrade for free. I just did it in the worst way possible. You don't ever want to ambush your customers. You don't ever want to tell them that you don't ever want to try to bypass them and go to the decision maker in a rude manner. There's a way to do that, but I did it in the wrong way. I mean, here's the lesson. It was never about the machine. I could have brought her that same machine and sold it better and everything would have been fine. Number one, I didn't set any expectations. There was no notice, there was no relationship built. I didn't understand her objections. I tried to tell her that she was wrong instead of listening to her. I made her feel small by going over her head and making her more defensive. I focused on the logic instead of the emotion because here's the thing. If this was a logical problem, if she was having a logical response, she would realize the machine is actually an entire decade newer than the one that I just took out. But she wasn't having a logical response, and I was trying to respond with logic to an emotional problem. This is the time when I learned that sales is actually not about the product. It's about the person.